Okay, good afternoon everybody. DK here. We're going to talk a little bit about Gibson robot guitars, particularly Generation 1. If you have a Gibson robot guitar that has the silver knob here and its tuning is not to your liking or you're having difficulty, this is the tutorial for you. If you have a newer one, just stay tuned. It's later in the video. I'm going to cover Generation 1, 2, and the current Gforce system on how to calibrate. So let's talk about what is calibration briefly. Calibrating the guitar, if you notice, just tuning your guitars manually, depending on what gauge of strings you use, the tension on each string is a little bit different. So if you turn your tuner knob, let's say 10 degrees with a size 10 string, we'll make 10 string, you turn it 10 degrees, you're going to get a change in pitch different from, say, a 12 gauge string. So the amount that you have to turn for the amount of pitch change is different depending on your gauge of strings. So based on that, the robot guitar comes from the factory pre-calibrated for a string gauge of 1046. This would be the 1046 Gibson Elgin strings, which is what they were shipping at the time. Odds are, if you're picking up one of these guitars secondhand, or you find, I don't know where you're going to find a G1 anywhere other than secondhand, but that's okay. Odds are it's probably had the calibration changed, so put the strings that you like on it, and then we should calibrate it. In my case, I use 11s. I use the Web Strings brand 11s. So if you change string gauges, restore the factory defaults, or are installing the system yourself, and restoring factory defaults, you can teach these things different tunings and whatnot, so, or set it to something other than 440 or whatever. Or installing the system yourself if you bought it secondhand from Tronical, I guess, or aftermarket. You may want to first calibrate your robot tuners individually using the motor calibration mode as described below. Remember, each robot tuner is self-regulated with dynamic runtime algorithms that ensures the change of runtimes according to each string. After several tunings, the system will perfect itself automatically. So it thinks it's going to fix it. Trust me, just calibrate the dumb thing. It'll make the process go way faster. So step 1 is enter setup mode, and then turn the knob to the stick. Okay, there's a stick on there, and then click the center button. We'll do this together so you can see it, and the peg and the LED will shine in white. And then at that point you just want to strum each string individually, and the tuner will go up and down a few times and figure out how much of a pitch change it gets with the different tunings. And once it gets every string adjusted, then you're good. So the first thing it says is enter setup mode. Let's cover how to do that, and then we'll actually do this. This manual has you bouncing around, so that's a little bit disappointing. How to enter setup mode is on page 42 of the manual. This is a PDF you can get from Gibson's website. You just search for the Gibson Robot Guitar Manual, and you will find it. So to enter setup mode, you pull the knob out, turn it all the way to 0, aka counterclockwise, and these two will shine in red. Press and hold the button for 3 seconds, and this should turn white, and then you're in setup mode. So at that point, then you would turn it to the stick and click, and you'd be in calibration mode. So let's go get our G1 robot, and we will calibrate our G1 robot. Okay? Okay. Like with most things in life, I'm actually better at demonstrating it than I am at explaining it. So what we want to do is we want to start with the guitar relatively in tune. This will speed up the calibration procedure. So we're pretty close to in tune as it is. So we'll pull out our knob here, and we will rotate it all the way counterclockwise to those 2 digits. Press and hold for 3 seconds. It turns blue. Press and hold again for another 3 seconds. It turns white. Now we'll walk all the way over to that one. Press once. It turns white. Now let's roll over to the E and press. This will begin the calibration mode. You see where E is there. I'm just going to pluck the string, and it will alternate between E and A, or I'm sorry, between red and green, not between E and A. Between red and green. And you can hear it's pitching it up and down. At some point it will be happy. Okay. It is satisfied with the E, and it wants to move on to A. As you can see, it's blinking. So just give it about 7 seconds or so between gentle plucking on the string. Okay, now it's ready for the D. As you see, it's jumped over. I don't know if you can hear the noises the machine head is making. They're kind of interesting. Okay, now it's ready to do the G. Basically what it's doing is it's tuning the string, and then you can hear this very short G. It's very slowly creeping the string up and listening to how much it goes up in that little amount. And it actually drops it right back down to pitch. So basically when we go to the high B here, you can see that's blinking. That's the one it wants to work with. So it's going up and down and taking measurements. And it went to the high E here, so it's waiting on me to do that. And now it's flashing happy colors. Calibration is complete. So at this point we should be able to see. It should be close to in tune. It tries to restore it. There we go. And now the guitar is all back in tune again. And ready to play. So that's effectively how to calibrate a G1 robot. If you're changing brands or gauge of strings, it's a good idea to do this procedure. It's a little tedious. This clip of the video is about 5.5 minutes long. But again, you just spent all this time changing the strings to get it to tune, to get it to tune accurately and a little bit faster by calibrating it. It'll save you a lot more time over the life of the strings. Or once you calibrate it once, then just buy the whole bunch of the same strings in bulk. Okay, let's move on to the Generation 2, which would be your Darkfire, Dusk Tiger, and I think that Firebird X is still a G2. I don't remember. Okay, for those of you with Darkfire guitars, depending on what firmware version, depends on whether this is going to be disabled or not. In later editions of the writing of the manual, I see this function completely being eliminated from the manual. This is version 3 of the manual, and it's function number 8, the runtime correction. When runtime activation correction is running, the movements of the power heads are monitored and correction is calculated. It takes up to 10 tunings before the power head movements adjust to your preferred string gauge. So effectively, the calibration procedure that we did on the first generation happens automatically whilst you are running your G2. It will figure it out on its own. So just as you continue to tune, it will get quicker and quicker. And I feel like I'm going to screw mine up by going through the procedure with you to make sure that that feature is on. But as they go with the clickstream is function number 8. Enter 1 to make sure it is on, and enter again. So let's go into setup mode and make sure that that is on our guitar. Okay, our Darkfire, we want to make sure that the automatic adjustment feature is turned on. So we need to put our guitar into setup mode. I'm going to try to hold this MCK by the sides here so we can see what it says. We come all the way to counterclockwise, and we want to press and hold until the enter symbol appears. Then we press and hold again, and it turns cyan. We then want to rotate to function number 8. You can see the different numbers, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, function 8. Click function 8, you'll see the 8 blinks red. Come back to the enter. Enter to select and confirm function 8. You see this turn pink. And then we want to set that to value 1, which is on. Click. The 1 blinks in red quickly. And we come back again to enter. Click again. It will blink in red to confirm. There. Now it's confirmed. And I'm trying to hold it by the sides. It's hard to tell how hard I clicked. But there we go. Now that feature is certainly on. And as we have the guitar tuned, it should automatically adjust to our string gauge. So we'll try a half step down tuning. There's a half step down, and when we pull it out, it will go back to standard. There we go. And we are all tuned up. So that is a function you want to make sure you have on your Generation 2. When you do change strings, it will be a little bit it'll be a little bit goofy, and it'll take a while to tune itself, but give it time. Within 10 attempts, it should have figured out the gauge of your current strings. Okay? So the third one, the current run, the Gforce units do need to be calibrated, unlike this one, which really kind of doesn't. But let's go through that. Okay, looking at a current Gforce model, the reason we calibrate these is because of the update to the way that these work. The Generation 1 and Generation 2 type robot guitars would wait for you to strum the strings before they started tuning. The Gforce likes to automatically snap into position. The guitar is currently tuned to a half a step down. So let's go to the, say, E, which is the standard tuning. As soon as I hit OK, you will see the guitar instantly responds and puts the strings into a rough tuning, and then when I strum the strings, it will fine adjust to make itself certain and happy that it's in the correct tuning. So in order to get it to do this correctly and to snap to the rough tuning properly and quickly, which will greatly reduce the amount of adjustment and fidget time it needs when you strum the strings we need to do a calibration, so let's learn how to do that. Alright, boys and girls, who's ready to calibrate our Gibsons? Calibration mode. You should recalibrate your Gibson Gforce if you've changed a string's gauge, type, or brand. Hey, I think I said that at the beginning of the video, and I didn't even read that out of the manual. You perform a master system reset. You encounter issues like erratic machine head movements or strings not tuning properly, etc. So make sure your battery's charged, obviously. Before calibration, tune your guitar to standard pitch, the red bank E. Okay? With the Gibson Gforce off, meaning all the lights are not illuminated, press the on button. Oh, this is how to tune it to standard E. This is hilarious. Strum all the strings once. When all the lights are green, then it'll turn off automatically. Okay, so let's actually get into the calibration part. You press on 3 times. Press the left button once to select cyan A. So you'll have the, when they say cyan A, it turns the LEDs into cyan color and you'll be on the letter A. Press enter twice and the string LEDs will blink red. Strum the guitar. All lights will shine green briefly and then turn off. If they continue to flash red, stop, mute all the strings and strum it again. Once all the strings have turned off from being green, or show a combination of blue and red LEDs, mute all the strings, and then let all the strings blink red. So repeat 3 and 4 until all LEDs light sequentially and one string LED is lit. Yeah, it's easier to visualize than to actually hear me try to read it, huh? Confusing manual. I've done this a while before, so we should be okay. It's basically just a matter of taking it to cyan A, pressing enter, and strumming it a bit until it's happy. So let's go do that now with our guitar. Okay, now let's do this procedure. I find it's easier to do this one in the playing position. So this is as close as I can get to the playing position and still get this filmed. On again, on again. The E turns white, arrow over to the cyan colored A, enter, enter. All of the LEDs blink in red. Give the guitar a good firm strum. They turn green, and wait. Now we still have some red. Strum again. Mute strings one more time. And there we go. That's the official calibration. Now, this really didn't have to do much because it was already calibrated to the same exact set of strings. But we'll just tell it to tune to E here, or standard concert. And there we go. And we'll test it by taking it to a half a step down. We'll make sure that it can jump directly into with very, very minimal twitching of the tuners. It was able to go to half a step down, and that sounds great to me. Now granted, I'm not plugged into an amp, but this guitar has enough power acoustically I can tell what it's doing. So this calibration procedure was kind of boring because I wasn't changing anything. I have used this type of string for a long time. But if you switch this off of your factory strings and put your favorite strings on it, that's what you want to do. You want to calibrate your Gforce system so it's ready to rapidly tune for you. So hopefully this helps anybody who owns or has come across one of these guitars. This system is a little controversial. Some people love it, some people can't stand it. If you sit down and read the manual, I think it's fine. But, you know, musicians are musicians. That said, if you're into Gibsons, I'm not sponsored by anybody, but there's a really great store in the Cleveland, Ohio area. You can check them out. It's villagegibson.com. Dale runs the place. If you want top class Gibson guitars that were selected by the owner from the factory, you know, hand picked, that's the place to go. Extremely competitive pricing. All of my new Gibsons have come from there, and just a really, really cool store. So you can check that out. It's villagegibson.com, and you can go visit him. He's in the Cleveland, Ohio area. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.